Dear audience, we have the honor and the pleasure to present to you the Air France-KLM case, the 2020 turnaround program with a strong tailwind, brought to you by KPMT, represented by its consultants Lilian, Ralph, Ilias and Geert. What's on the agenda of today's presentation? We kick off with the situation as it is today. Then we move to a company snapshot. Next, we do external analysis using PESTEL and 5 forces. Then we move to analysis of the internal capabilities and will show you the strengths and weaknesses. The SWOT will be used to summarize the outcomes of the external and internal analysis and will be used at the end to define the key strategies for the future. Looking to the situation as it is today, we see two airline operations under a single corporate umbrella, but still having two different company cultures. In total, there are 30 smaller companies. Looking to the 2012 financials, looking to the first 9 months, we can say that these are poor. Air France-KLM has still one of the largest networks in the world. In the previous slide, we showed you that Air France-KLM has still one of the largest networks in the world. So this means that their passenger transport and the catering can be considered as having a relative high market share, but is unfortunately working in a market with a low growth rate. Looking to the other business units, maintenance and cargo, we can decide that these have a low relative market share. Now it's time to discuss the outcomes of the external analysis, kicking off with PESTEL. Political, reducing security regulations and at airports and more international trades are positive trends in the political aspect. Moving to economical, we can see that the global economy is growing back again, that the big countries are booming, but unfortunately Europe is still lagging behind. Moving to social, we can see in Europe and in US that the older generation is getting bigger and bigger, and that we see new middle classes popping up in Asia and South America. Next, technological. There we have seen that there are less consuming jet engines and that travelers have nowadays the power through internet to take care of their travel by doing themselves the order, the check-in, as well as printing the boarding passes. Next, ecological. We can see that there is more and more focus on waste reduction as well to the reduction of CO2 emissions. Last but not least, legal, we can see that there are still standardized rules in the EU, that there are more open skies deals, as unfortunately that we also see that the worldwide environmental standards have been delayed. Another tool that we've been using for the external analysis are the 5 forces. When looking to the whole airline industry, we see a mix of competitors. Some focus on cost, others on value. The industry itself is slow growing. Altogether, we can conclude that the impact is high. Next force, threat of new entrants. There are huge investments required. There are limited landing rights and time slots available, and it's quite difficult to set up a B2B hub network, so the threat of new entrants is rather low. Next force, bargaining power of buyers. Leisure and business travelers are very sensitive for low cost and looking for high quality. They also have low switching costs, meaning bargaining power of buyers is rather medium. Threat of substitutes, the next force. Here we can see that within Europe we still have the possibility to use train and car to move from point 1 to point 2. Tele and video conferences are alternatives for business travelers, so the threat of substitutes is rather medium. Last but not least, bargaining power of suppliers. We see a domination of small number of airplane manufacturers. There's a low risk of forward vertical integration, for instance by these airplane manufacturers, and there are high switching costs for the companies that want to move from one airport to another airport. Altogether, we think that the bargaining power of suppliers is rather medium.
After an analysis of the company's internal capabilities, the following strengths were identified as the most important. The company has a dominant position in two major hub airports, Amsterdam and Paris-Charles de Gaulle. It also has an extensive route networks to Americas, Caribbean, Asia-Pacific, and Africa. Air France-KLM also has a large fleet of around 550 aircraft, and it is well placed geographically to take advantage of the transatlantic passenger traffic. It sits on the western coast of Europe and is able to funnel traffic between Europe and the US. The company also has a strong brand name related to quality, especially in markets like Asia and Africa, where French products are associated with luxury. In the same analysis, the following weaknesses were identified as the most important. The company has numerous and diverse subsidiaries, including non-aeronautical ones, which are active in markets which are not related to aviation. The company also has complex corporate governance with two separate entities which have completely different corporate cultures. Also, the labor rules are quite inflexible, especially with pilots and cabin crew of Air France. The company also has high labor costs and very high debts of around 535 billion euros. During the SWOT analysis, several strengths were identified, including the strong brand name of the company and the well-connected hub airports. As weaknesses, we're seeing the legacy labor contracts that the company has, as well as the cumbersome structure of the company itself with the numerous subsidies. The airline business is quite a mature industry, and therefore emphasis on high-quality customer service was seen as an excellent opportunity to take advantage of business travelers. Also, the attractive markets in Asia and Africa were seen as a great opportunity since they offer growth rates which are much higher than the European ones. Finally, the threats that were identified were the improved technology and the cost cutting which result in less business travel, as well as the fact that leisure travelers are price sensitive and therefore are affected a lot by price elasticity. Following the analysis that was presented in the slides before, 5 key strategies for the future of Air France-KLM were developed. These were created by using strengths to embrace opportunities, to block threats, and by turning weaknesses into a strength. For example, the company's brand name as well as reputation for quality, business customers, and the growth of the Asian and African market were all combined to create the first strategy. This strategy calls for investment in business class quality and to expand direct flights to Asia by using primarily the Air France brand. As a second strategy, we recommend that the company expands its capacity and number of direct destinations to Americas. In this way, we believe it takes advantage of both its dominant position in major hubs as well as its geographic position for transatlantic flights. As a third strategy, we recommend that the company merges all low-cost operations under a single new business unit called Transavia by Air France-KLM. This business unit should use separate and flexible contract agreements to ensure it has a competitive cost structure. The company Transavia by Air France-KLM is to replace all European flights and feed into the Air France-KLM long-haul network. In this way, we believe that the company will address the threat of low-cost carriers. As a fourth strategy, we recommend to focus on the airline passenger product and sell any other business that is not related to aviation. A fifth strategy would be to merge the dedicated cargo operations and sell them as a single cargo unit. The company should focus only on optimizing revenues from cargo space beneath passenger aircraft. Using these 5 strategies, we believe that the company will be well equipped to address the challenges of the future and remain as one of the leading airline groups in the world.